Hello lovelies, wow, it's been so long. I hope it's not so late to say happy new year. You're welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking in. If you are just joining us for the first time, please do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and all our old subscribers, happy new year once again. I'm so sorry for being away. I had phone issues, but I'm very happy to be back. In today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful multi-pleated V-shaped turban cap, which has this braided sequence ruffles design on it. The materials used include shiny poly fabric, of which 1 yard is enough, sequence fabric, of which half yard is enough, your fiber, your measuring tape, your matching color of thread and needle, and then other accessories for embellishment. This design which we are working on is a V-shaped pleated turban cap, which has a braided design and a ruffles design on it. Now for my turban cap, I'm making use of my shiny poly fabric, of which 1 yard will be more than enough. The V-shaped band is pleated, and to give it that, and then needing 2 pieces of fabric for it to give it that V shape, and the base is also lined. Personally, I like lining my shiny poly fabric when working with it. For the braided design, I'm making use of my sequins. So the braided design is going to be on 2 sides, the left and the right side, while the ruffles is going to be at the center. Now the ruffles design is going to be coming from the same fabric used in creating the braid on both sides. Right here, I have my fabric cut out already. Starting with the band, the V-shaped band, we'll be needing 2 different pieces of fabric, of which the measurement is 15 inches for the length, cut across the more stretchy part of the fabric, by 14 inches for the width, 15 by 14, cut out twice. As soon as we are done with that, we'll be moving on to the fabric for the base. Since I'm lining, I'll be needing 2 different pieces of fabric, of which I'll be using 26 inches for the length, which is the head circumference, by 14 inches for the width. So the measurement I'm using is 26 inches by 14 inches, cut out twice, 2 different pieces of fabric. Thereafter, the next fabric we are going to be working on is the sequence fabric. For the sequence fabric, we'll be needing 6 different pieces of fabric. So you cut out your fabric 6 different times. The measurement is 4.5 inches for the width by 30 inches for the length, 4.5 by 30 inches. Now, in addition to the sequence fabric, we'll also be needing fiber, and I'm using 2.5 inches by 30 inches, 2.5 inches by 30. Now, starting the tutorial, I have the fabric for my V-shaped band here, so we'll go ahead to create the pleatings on it. I'll start by folding in the edge of my fabric and then folding it down, and sew from one end to the other. Thereafter, I flip to the fine side, and then I start making my pleats on my fabric one after the other. And as I pleat my fabric, I will sew it down. I will pleat, I will sew it down until I get to the end. Do this for both pieces of fabric. Yeah, I have both pieces of fabric already pleated down, so this gives me the band, the V-shaped band I'm going to be working on. I will set this aside, then I will get the fabric for my base. I'll get the fabric for my base. I will fold each pieces of fabric into 2 equal halves, and then use my scissors to make a notch at the middle of each piece of fabric, just as you see me doing in the video. So as soon as that is done, I'll set that aside. I'll get the 2 pieces of fabric which I'm using for my band, place one on each other, just as you see me doing in the video, so as to get that V shape at the middle. Then I will go ahead to get my pin and use it to pin it down at the middle to help me secure my fabric in place. So that is done. I will go ahead to now skip this and then get the fabric for my base. So I will get the first piece of fabric for my base. I'll place it down with the fine side facing me and the wrong side facing my working surface. Then I will also get the fabric for my V-shaped band, which I've been joined together, and place it at the edge of the first fabric for my base. Then I'll go ahead to get the second fabric. This time around, the second fabric, the fine side of the second fabric is going to be facing the fine side of the first piece of fabric. So fine side facing fine side, I'll place the second fabric on it. Now, having done this, I can now go ahead to sew this down on my sewing machine. Now I'm sewing the band only, from one end of the band down to the other end. This is my work now, and as you can see, I'm done sewing the band and I've trimmed off the excess fabric. So I'll flip this over to the fine side and I have it this way. So this is my V-shaped turban cap in progress. Let's work on the sequence fabric. Now for my sequence fabric, remember that I'll be needing 6 different pieces of fabric, and the measurement for each piece of fabric is 4.5 by 30 inches. So I'll go back and then cut it 6 times, then come back. Now I've already sewn mine, but let's assume that this is the sequence fabric already cut out. So I'll get the fabric, fold it into 2 equal halves with the fine side inside and the wrong side outside, and then sew down from one end of the fabric down to the other end. Now you have to repeat this for the other pieces of fabric cut out, and then you go ahead to turn your fabric inside out. As soon as you are done turning your fabric inside out, we'll be needing the fiber. Now the measurement for the fiber is, you can use 2 inches for the width, you can use 2.5 inches by the length of your fabric. You go ahead to insert it inside your already turned out fabric. Okay, at this point I'm done sewing my fabric, turning it inside out, and also inserting my fiber in it. So what we are going to be doing next is we are going to be getting it, that is separating it into different pairs, 3 to 1, 3 to 1. Now you see that my fiber did not get to the end of the fabric. There's a little bit allowance at the edge, that is for sewing. So I'll place one on each other as you see me doing this way, and then go down to my sewing machine and sew it down to join it together. And then I've sewn it. I also repeated the same thing for the other sets. So I now have 2 sets of fabric, 3 in 1. After creating the fabric for the braids, I'm going to get my turban cap. Remember, we just sewn it and we just sewn the band to the base and we left it that way. Now I will get the first set of my braid that I've joined together, fabric for my braid that I've joined together, place it at one edge and then stitch it down to hold it in place. Now I'll also repeat the same thing for the other end. Get the other end set of fabric, the 3 in 1 that I've sewn down, and then place it properly. Place at the edge of my turban cap, this is on my fine side, and then stitch it down. Okay, that is how to secure that part to the cap. Now we'll now close it and then stitch together from one end of the cap to the other end. Now I'm trying to reposition my fabric so that I can be able to stitch it down to form the cap. Please watch the way it is positioned. You can also use your pins to pin it down so as to help you hold it in place instead of sewing several times. Now I can place it on my sewing machine and sew down round the cap. At this point, I'm done sewing. I've sewn it down from the band down to the very end. So I now have my cap. What I'll be doing is that I'll be forming the gathers that will be at the end. And for that, I need my needle and thread. Please ensure it is doubled. I'm going to start sewing immediately after the band down to the end. So I will now start using my needle and thread to make my running stitch. And I'll complete this, then get back. As soon as I'm done making my running stitch, that is that part. And then now coming to the band, remember we made use of 15 inches for the head circumference, which is a little bigger than the normal adult head size circumference. So I will set the band in place, get my measuring tape, and then measure my head circumference that I want to work with. The standard head circumference is between 22 and 24 inches, so half of it. I'm working with 22 inches, which is now 11 inches. Half of it on fold, it is 11 inches. So I'll mark it down. Now place this on my sewing machine, sew down from that 11 inches mark down on that band area. So this is my fabric and I have sewn it down from the band that way. So with this I can get a backdrop effect for my turban cap. As soon as all that is done, I'm gonna have to turn my fabric inside out and I have it this way. So you can see my fabric for my braids, 3 in 1 on each side of my cap. Now we'll go ahead to make my braid. Now this is a very simple process of braiding, the normal way we make any type of braid. You either braid yourself or get someone to help you hold down the cap and then you braid. Now getting someone to help you hold your fabric while you braid will help you get closely tight braids, and I think personally I prefer that because it comes out much more finer. So I'll keep braiding my fabric, but then I'm not braiding my fabric till I get to the end. I'm going to braid it until I see that it covers the side of my turban cap. I didn't take any particular measurement for this. And then as soon as I've gotten where I want it to get to, because of the ruffles we are creating at the center, I will end there, get my needle and thread, and then tack it at that point to close it up and to secure it. And as soon as I finish securing it, I will now get my needle and thread and then tack down the braid down to the cap, and then go ahead to cut off the excess fiber left in the fabric. Now I have my braid done. I've secured it with my needle and thread, and I've done that for both sides. So all that is left for me is to place it on my turban cap and then tack it down on my turban cap until I get very close to the middle and I can stop. Tacking it is no different from whatever I've been doing before. Pass a needle and thread from the wrong side of the cap upwards till you get to the top of the braid. Take it back in and do that a couple of times to secure it. Thereafter, make your big stitches hidden inside the braid so that it will not be visible. You continue to tack and stitch in that pattern until you have secured the braid down to the cap, and remember to cut off the excess fiber from your fabric as soon as you have gotten the desired length that you want. At this junction, I have my cap on my dummy head. I've tacked down the braid on the sides for both the left side and the right side, and that is it. You can see my excess fabric. I've gone ahead to cut off the excess fiber that was in it. Then we'll go ahead to create the ruffles. For my ruffles design, I'll be getting my needle and thread, and I'll be making the ruffles on each strand of fabric separately. Remember, we have 6 strands, 3 on the left and 3 on the right. So as I make each strand separately, I'll then join everything together. I'll start by folding in the edge of the fabric, and then I will now start passing my needle and thread. Please just watch and follow what I'm doing. I'm making my running stitch. I'm creating my ruffles by making running stitch, but the running stitch is coming in a zigzag pattern. I'm not doing it straight across the middle or at one edge. I'm doing it on the sides in a zigzag pattern. So that is how I'm going to go ahead to create it. So I'm going to fast forward the video a bit so as to decrease the length of the video, but please just watch and follow whatever is done. You can replay to get it if you don't have, that is, if there's any part at all that you don't understand. So as I'm done making the first ruffles, I'll go ahead to now adjust it and arrange it in place, then tack it down to the turban cap. That is how to go about it. Now when creating your ruffles, you do it side by side and then step by step. The first 2 fabrics, one on the right, and make your ruffles, tack it down to the cap. Go to the left side, the first one, make your ruffles, tack it down to the cap. You go ahead, pick the second strand of fabric on the right, make the ruffles, tack it on the first step of ruffles you already created. Go over to the left, make your ruffles, tack it on the first step of ruffles you already created, then join it together at the middle. Go over to the third set of fabric, pick for the right, make your ruffles, tack it on the second step, to the left side, pick your fabric, make your ruffle, stack it on the second step, then go to the middle and join both of them together. So that is how I created my ruffles. Just remember to give it a proper aligning by the side and the arrangement so that it comes out fine. So that is how to go about it. So I'll go ahead, finish this, work on the second step a bit, and then go back off camera to complete this, then get back to show us the final outlook. At this point, I'm done tacking everything down together. So I have my middle ruffles in place and my braided design. And then I'll place this on my dummy head. And voila, here we are. This is what we have. You can see how beautiful it turned out to be. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel. Bye.